Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about episode 5 of Quality Assurance in Another World. This was a fun and exciting episode that had some really interesting callbacks to certain aspects of gaming that I've experienced in my life and I hope you have in yours, as well as having some interesting insights into the characters and situation that we are facing in this story. First, let's talk a little bit about some of the interesting gaming related things. I mean, who hasn't played a game where a story aspect somehow sends your hero into a situation where they wind up in prison? It's a gaming trope, and a good one, because it gets the character to interact with different people, it creates instant conflict, and often it gives an opportunity for the developer to either give you weapons at the start of a story and immediately put you in peril, or at some junction in a story be able to either give you a situation where you're going to get new weapons, even if they give you your old ones back, and again, allow a progression or a shift in plot and tone. It's brilliant, and it was fun to see how it was done here. But what made it really unique and interesting to me, within the context of this story in general, is that, of course, we have two people in this situation who are testing a game, who know they are testing a game, and who are calm and going through this and looking at this from a game testing point of view. At least to an extent, because I mean, Haga is purely interested in trying to debug things and test things out and figure things out. Whereas our little furry man, whose name I'm still not grasping, sorry boys, is actually going through the motions of dealing with the fact that his friend is dead and he wants to get through this quest because he wants to kick these guys that did this to her in the ass. And I don't blame him. I get where he's coming from. I genuinely feel for him and I really love him as a character. But of course, on the other hand, we have Nicola, who is losing her freaking crap. And rightfully so, because unlike these two, who are thinking about it the way you or I might in this situation, describing the mechanics of a prison sequence in a game, for her, this is real life, and she is rightfully terrified. I really like how we see them all go through and deal with this and everything, and how we see them working their way through getting out of the prison cell. And then one thing I thought was really funny is what happened when they got to the boss, because they're going around and they're looking at things, and we get what I viewed personally as almost a spoof back in the day. One of my favorite games ever was Final Fantasy IV. It's probably my favorite game of all time. And in the editions that were released in certain areas, there was an item called the Porno Mag. But of course, in North America, when it was released in the 90s, that item didn't exist. Well, here we see assets that are blurred out because I'm going to assume they're pleasure devices, if you catch my drift. And poor Nicola probably has no idea what they are, and she's like flipping them around like they're lightsabers, and I'm just dying, and Haga's just losing his mind. And little furry man is just like, okay, whatever, my guys. This is weird, but I'ma roll with it. And then the boss shows up, and he's some zombie-like thing. Like, I don't want to say patchwork, he wasn't quite that abominable, but he was definitely some kind of zombie dude. And that was wild enough, and his weapons looked really, really nasty. But then he opened his mouth, and I just died laughing. I just lost it, man. Because every other word that was coming out of his mouth needed to be censored because it was just so gross. And of course, Nicola had no idea entirely what was going on, and she's just listening to Haga's instructions. Furry guy can't understand what he's saying, but for whatever reason, a reason we do not know, Haga can tell every word he's saying, and Haga is just like, please put me through the floor, man, because he is so utterly disgusted. He's like, how did this place get so bugged? And this is really funny to me also because it kind of makes me think of the things that can happen when you get a game that comes out, say, on Steam, and people will mod the game and they'll change things about it, and you'll get silly crap, whether on Steam or through third-party modding sites, where you might get things with breast enhancements, or people might be naked, or you might be able to get like elf versions of people or something like that that isn't quite so crude. Or you might get like different packs of storytelling crap. Who knows? There are a whole bunch of things that can hypothetically happen to a game when it's modded. And to see that referenced here was really cool. The other thing I thought was really interesting in this episode is that we get a moment with the red-haired guy who is the leader of these debuggers who have gone rogue. And he's all like giving his men the flip off when they want help with stuff. But then the door closes and my man just cracks. Like, he breaks down. And it was wild to see this because we really haven't seen anything that would hypothetically humanize any of these characters up until this point. And let me make it clear, in no way do I feel that that makes it okay, the things that he's done to these people. Because insofar as the world he's in, these are real people who are living their real life. And while I've tried to keep some kind of mental distinction between them and the people from our world, theoretically, they do still have the right to be considered real within the context of their story. And what's happening to them is wrong. But to see him just crack and break was really interesting because, I mean, it shows that this guy isn't as strong and all-powerful as somebody might think, and that this situation is likely at least having a certain level of impact on the behavior that he is exhibiting. Again, not excusing it, it's terrible. I'm thinking of it from the context of this story where it's real. It would still be kind of sketchy and icky, even in a gaming sense. But I mean, in a gaming sense, you could argue something like he's killing the townsfolk in Fallout 3, or he's running over pedestrians in Grand Theft Auto, which, I mean, from a real world perspective, we'd be like, okay, so what, whatever. People do that crap. He's choosing the villain route in a BioWare game. But it's really fascinating how well the writing and storytelling is done here, to the point where I don't think like that when I see these characters. I think of them as real. I don't think of it as though someone is playing an RPG or something. Overall, though, I did think this was a really good episode, and I thought that it was really interesting to see how our team is slowly forming and coming together. I think it's going to be really fun seeing our characters go through this quest and seeing them work towards solving it. I also think that it's really cool that we are in this quest that has put us in what would be considered our own instance if we were in an MMO. Kind of like how if you're playing like World of Warcraft and you go into a dungeon, the dungeon you enter can't be entered by other people unless you invite them in. They can't just pop in on you and take your stuff. So that's going to help our team, at least for a time, in preparing for how we're going to deal with these rogue debuggers. Because they, at least as far as we know, unless they can somehow bend the rules, can't come in and do anything to us, which will hopefully buy our heroes some time and help them devise an actual plan for dealing with the situation. But those are my thoughts on the episode. I'd love to know what you guys thought of this one because I thought it was super good. So drop a comment below and let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. See you later. Bye!